There's an artist named Brian Lai that has the unique ability to draw in negatives. In only 3% of all the bird species does the male have a penis. Under extremely powerful pressure, peanut butter can be turned into diamonds. In 2011, a 99-year-old Italian named Antonio C. divorced his 96-year-old wide Rosa C. after finding secret love letters revealing that she had an affair in the 1940s. Mark Zuckerberg has signed the Giving Pledge, a campaign created by Warren Buffett and Bill Gates which encourages wealthy people to contribute a majority of their wealth to philanthropic causes. Crabs are able to regenerate their legs and claws to 95% of their original size. The largest earthquake recorded was in Chile in 1960. It was placed in at 9.4-9.6 on the magnitude scale and lasted for 10 minutes. Oranges are not even in the top 10 list of common foods when it comes to vitamin C levels. The app Candy Crush was making $956,000 a day in its prime. Richard Klinkhammer, a Dutch crime writer, wrote a suspicious book on 7 ways to kill your spouse, 1 year after his wife disappeared. He became a celebrity and spent the next decade hinting that he murdered her, and in 2000 it turned out that he really had, after her skeleton was discovered at his former residence. A group of parrots is called a pandemonium. Sunflowers can be used to clean up radioactive waste. Their stems and leaves absorb and store pollutants. It's also why the sunflower is the international symbol for nuclear disarmament. Adding sugar to a wound will greatly reduce the pain and speed up the healing process. The Code of Hammurabi is a well-preserved Babylonian law that dates all the way back to 1772 BC, which had progressive laws in it such as minimum wage and the right to be a free man. It was written well before the Bible. It was discovered in 2008 that a 56-year-old crime reporter named Vlado Taneski, who was reporting on gruesome murders, was the serial killer himself. Veronica Sider holds the Guinness World Record for the best sight in the world. She can see 20 times better than the average person, being able to identify someone's face from 1 mile 6 km away. Democracy was invented in Greece 2,500 years ago. Doritos can be made without the powder and taste exactly the same, but the company intentionally adds it because they believe it adds to the Doritos experience. In 2013, Google sent a lone employee to an abandoned Japanese island called Ginkjima to map it for Google Street View. The island was once the most densely populated island in the world, but is now completely abandoned. As of 2016, about 280 climbers have died on Everest. Their bodies are so well preserved that they are used as markers. Burger King in Japan has released 2 black hamburgers called the Cured Diamond and the Kuro Pearl, with everything including the bun, the sauce and the cheese colored black with squid ink. When tractor owner Ferruccio Lamborghini voiced his frustration over his clutch in the Ferrari to Cars founder Enzo Ferrari, Enzo insulted him, telling him that the problem was with the driver, not the car. Ferruccio decided to start his own car company and thus the Lamborghini was born. Approximately 1 in every 6 Jewish people killed in the Holocaust died at Auschwitz. Anaptophobia is the fear of either remaining unmarried or marrying the wrong person. In 2007 in Louisiana, a pink albino bottlenose dolphin was discovered and photographed by a man named Eric Rue. The average lead pencil can draw a line that will be 35 miles 56 km long. Disneyland does not sell any gum. This is because Walt Disney didn't want people stepping in gum as they walked around the park. There's a lake in Western Australia called Lake Hillier that has water that's naturally pink. Ancient Roman charioteers earned more money than international sports stars get paid today. If you were to commit suicide in Japan by either jumping in front of a train or killing yourself in your apartment building, the train or building company will actually sue your family for cleanup fees, loss of income, and negative publicity brought upon them by your suicide. In the 1930s, 2 psychologists adopted a baby chimp and tried to raise her as their own child alongside their real infant son, Donald, to see if it caused the chimp to learn human behavior. They stopped the experiment after 9 months because their son actually started behaving more like the chimp. More people have died from selfies than shark attacks. There is a fish that exists called the blue lingcod that has blue flesh. When it's cooked, the blue color vanishes completely. Zhao Yun from China was missing for 10 years and was presumed dead, but was then found living in an internet cafe. A runaway at the age of 14, she was good at the game Crossfire, so other gamers paid to watch her play it, and she slept at internet cafes for the rest of her life and public bathhouses until she was found at the age of 24. Mr. Rogers' parents adopted an African-American teenager named George. Rogers came to consider George his older brother, and George later became an instructor for the Tuskegee Airmen of World War II and also taught Rogers how to fly. Violent crime in the US and Europe was at its highest in areas with the most lead pollution. Violent crime peaked 20 years after lead additives in petrol and paint were banned, before declining thereafter. Mongols had rules against spilling noble blood over the ground. Instead, they used loopholes like making them bend backward until the backbone snapped, pouring molten silver into eyes and ears, and being rolled up in a rug and trampled to death by the Mongol cavalry. In Sweden, the body heat of commuters passing through Stockholm's central station is harvested to provide heat for an office building across the road from it. At the age of 15, Jim Carrey quit school and became a janitor to support his family after his father lost his job. They were living out of a van. He also used to carry a baseball bat in his janitor cart because I was so angry, I just wanted to beat the heck out of something. When the Latvian hockey team plays at home and wins a game, fans pay a visit to the embassy of the opposing team's home country and lay flowers at its gate. Leonardo DiCaprio was named Leonardo because his pregnant mother was looking at a Leonardo da Vinci's painting in a museum in Italy when DiCaprio first kicked. Firefighters would hide in ground zero rubble so that dogs could find survivors. Constantly finding bodies was leading to high stress in the dogs as they thought they were failing. Between 1970 and 1973, 4 Israeli fighter pilots translated The Hobbit from English to Hebrew to pass the time in an Egyptian prison, where they were held as POWs. Their translated book was published commercially in 1977 and up until 2012 was considered the best Hebrew version of the book. A baby elephant sucks its trunk like a baby sucks its thumb for comfort. Arnold made $75,000 for his role in Terminator, but in Terminator 2 he made $15 million about 7 years later. The Pillars of Creation, a nebula 7,000 light-years away, was destroyed by supernova 6,000 years ago. In 1,000 years, we will see it destroyed as it takes 7,000 years for the light to reach Earth. There has been a book written from the perspective of a successful sociopath or psychopath about the intricacies of the life of someone with this condition called Confessions of a Sociopath, a life spent hiding in plain sight. The book, for obvious reasons, was written under a pseudonym. When a paper couldn't think of a name for an article about Chris Hadfield, they rang the Air Force who said, "Just call it Canadian wins top test pilot or something to that effect." A friend sent Chris a copy of the article. It read Canadian wins top test pilot or something to that effect. Neil Armstrong, the first man to step foot on the moon, carried with him a piece of the cloth and wood from the original 1903 Wright Flyer. Queen the band is the only group that has had all of its members compose multiple #1 hits, so in addition to the band being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, all 4 members have been individually inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. In the movie The Program, there was a scene where football players laid in the middle of the highway to prove they have nerves of steel as vehicles avoided them. In real life, this stunt was copied by 2 teenagers, but vehicles ran over each person instead of avoiding them, killing one of them. The olfactory epithelium of the human nose contains about 12 million olfactory receptor neurons. Within the USA, in 1990, approximately $1.6 billion was used to eliminate or mask underarm odors. Approximately 24.5% of people between the ages of 53 and 97 years have an impaired sense of smell. The first football helmet used during a game was worn when Army played Navy in 1893.